Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 57 of Truth or Trend, a holistic breakdown where Dr. Verzal and myself, Dustin Strong, we take on the things that people are asking a lot of questions about and wanted to know, is this good for me? Is it just marketing? Is this something I should know more about? And Dr. Verzal and I are always trying to learn more ourselves, and we're always out there trying to meet people who are smarter than us and brighter than us and can share things and have different experiences than us. And so today we are incredibly fortunate. We've got Dr. Martha Hall with us. Now, she's out of San Juan Capistrano, and this is her website here. And as you can see, she is well-versed in muscle testing, and her credentials go on and on and on. And I'm just now getting to meet her today, so I'm very excited about that and excited to learn. And Dr. Verzal texted me last week and said, hey, we need to get her on the show. We need to talk about stem cells because we get a lot of people talking about that. And she is the person who's going to educate us. So welcome, Dr. Hall. Thank you for being here. So excited to learn. I'm going to kick back and I want to hear why Dr. Verzal and you decided this is what we're going to talk about today.
Right. Well, stem cells have been around. There are built-in master cells that we have in our body. It's just been the latest rage as of like 2010. But there was first, I think I was in Canada in the 1960s where they first realized that we have stem cells inside our bone marrow. And it went on from there to the UK. And then it was brought out here. It was first isolated. It was in the 98 when it came to the States. But like I said, it wasn't until the latest rage in the last 10 years. And I've luckily was introduced to them about 16 years ago. My mom was vaccine injured and the doctor said it. I'm not saying it, but I knew it was from that. She just went in blindly and got a flu vaccine at that time. And she got Guillain-Barré from that, which she couldn't feel her hands or feet. She couldn't walk. She couldn't hold anything. So she was in the hospital for 4 weeks where they did reverse plasmapheresis. They took out her cells, put in a new one. It was very costly, very expensive, but it saved her. And then from there, I took over as much as I could, and I got her about 80% better. And so I prayed really hard for somebody to send me a sign what else I could do because I felt I was losing her. And so I was introduced to somebody that's in Tijuana, Mexico that does stem cells through injections. I called him immediately. I made an appointment for that weekend, drove out there. I'm in 1 hour from the border. So the very first time she got the shot, immediately she felt results. One of the side effects is that she's constantly cold. Nothing could warm her up. She could have layers and layers and it still wouldn't do. Within an hour, she felt that heat because we're in the borderline that takes like 2 hours minimum to cross the border. So I was ecstatic. And from then we would go every month. And then I tried hard to find it for me and my clinic out here. And there's to no avail. There was nothing out here. And then I was introduced to it to the school that I was attending. And it was a company that I use. It's called Biopharma International. What they do is they use black sheep that are raised in France and the company's in Switzerland. And these black sheep, because I asked them, why black sheep? And they said, because
sounds good to me. I mean, it's right up my alley being a black sheep myself.
Yeah, I feel that way with my family. I'm the youngest of 8 kids.
Oh, wow.
And I stand out. I don't eat spicy food. I never liked it as a kid, completely opposite of them. But so when I found out about them, I immediately was interested, especially their black sheep are raised organically. It's a very high grade quality. And they've been around for 44 years. So they're way ahead of us. And part of that, taking this company into my clinic, I had for 2 years, once a month with the doctor that was in Mexico that represented the company. I had a 30 minutes and sometimes an hour phone consult with them. And I'd have all my questions ready. And it was just a beautiful thing. And that's how I would learn about the stem cells. But being a Chinese medicine doctor, and I resonate with it because that's what Chinese medicine is. We use plants, minerals, animals, and food. That's what we use to get the body better. So organ meat is something that I was raised with. Organ meat is what are the stem cells. Now we're naturally built with this in our body. It helps repair it. So when we get injured, these stem cells of our own body go directly to that tissue, to that site to help heal it. Sadly, when we age, right? So like when you get 60s, you don't repair as fast as when you're in your 20s. So taking something exogenously like this, what I have is a tablet form. It's so easy to do. You just pop it in your mouth, you take it. I do muscle testing, so I check how much the patient needs, as opposed to injections where are painful, but they work. And you have to do it at certain times, and the patient can't do it themselves.
So Dr. Versal and I both use glandulars, right? We're obviously familiar with those. We're familiar with cytosol for cells.
Yes.
We're familiar with protomorphogens. Where does this fit into that spectrum, right? How does the stem cells differentiate specifically we have a lot of SP practitioners, standard process practitioners who listen to the show. So can you help us kind of clarify? And also as a two-parter here, how are you muscle testing a specific place on them? Like Dr. Versal has very specific, muscle testing points. Is there one that you specifically test for to determine, or do you just test the actual organ?
And to make it a three-part, when would you use PMGs over, or when would you use stem cells over PMGs, or vice versa? Right, carry that. Take off with all that.
Okay, so they're a bit different. One of them, they're more costly, right? Because the protomorphogens from standard process was my go-to prior to the stem cells. They still are. So what I do is the muscle testing. So what my style of muscle testing is a bit different. I go through each organ and see if it's deficient or if it needs attention. And if it does, then I ask what the stressors are. And then I ask the priority. So say the heart comes up, the brain comes up, and the stomach comes up. I'm going to ask what's the priority. But of course, I'm going to ask the patient what their priority is. If they have brain fog, well, then I'm like, okay, I have to respect the patient, even though the brain fog may be coming from the stomach. I try to say, okay, that's coming from the stomach. I'll give you something for the brain, but let's also concentrate on the stomach. So obviously, if the brain fog is coming from the stomach, then I will give them something like Zypan to turn the stomach on. I will give them something, depending on what the issue is, Enzacor, Multizyme. And then I'll give them the symptoms that are coming from that. Then I'll do the stem cells for the brain, because that's what they're coming in for. And it's pretty severe. They're forgetting they're at a red light and they don't remember to turn right or left to a place they've been going quite often. I'm like, okay, now that's severe, right? So, or if they're injured by chemicals that were injected into them, heavy metals, then I'm like, okay, we got to detox. So let's detox. And then I'll probably use the stem cells for detoxification, which they have them for that. And then I'll give them maybe something like ginkgo biloba, something to help repair the brain, depending on how bad it is. But I do the muscle testing. I rely usually slowly on that and see what comes up. But the protomorphogens are the nucleus, right, of the organ. So that's not the whole organ, where stem cells are the whole polypeptide. It's a whole, they're polypeptides, which is all the amino acids. Right. A peptide is just a short chain amino acid. The protomorphogens is the nucleus, and they're all beautiful. And I wouldn't say one's better than the other, but I can tell you I get better results with the stem cells because of the way they're made. And I don't put every patient on it, maybe 1 out of 10, because it's severe. But I always get results.
Let's give a little context, though. For example, I mean, our body has stem cells, right? And we want to keep our stem cell population at its highest level as much as we can. And this is what I focused on for many years is, things like fasting, exercise, deep sleep, and even omega-3s and vitamin D, cold therapies. All of those are going to help maximize it. And that's what we're always trying to do, is give that foundation for it. But when we're looking at our population of Americans and whoever we're working with in this world, a lot of those things have been missed and abused and gone, right? So we've had an aggressive depletion of stem cells. Is that why you think that people are responding to it, because they just haven't been able to preserve their stem cells themselves very well?
You're way ahead of me. Exactly 100% correct.
Okay.
That's exactly right. As we age, when you hit 60s, we're not going to make the same and repair as fast as we did when we were in our 20s. A 20-year-old really doesn't need stem cells unless he has a broken bone, then I'll give it to them.
Okay.
But I would not think of giving a 20-year-old stem cells just here, take this, because they repair faster.
Sure.
Usually the stem cells are for 60 and older.
Oh, really? Because I turned 50 this weekend. I was hoping I could get a head start.
Oh, you can use it. Yeah, no, you can use it. I've been using them since day one when I was introduced to them.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you can use them, but they're more costly as opposed to portamorphogen. But the results are beautiful. My mom taught me the most expensive thing is what doesn't work, right? So if it's working, I don't care. I get my hair done in Texas once a month. I go there and have it done. It works. I have very thick, curly hair. It's very hard to find a hairstylist here that can do it. I go to Texas. I fly free. I have benefits, so that's why I can do it. So you think I'm not going to take a supplement that works very well and it's organic and it's clean? Yeah, I'm going to do it.
And well, that's important perspective for people because, I just heard Dr. Sinclair, the research scientist on longevity and anti-aging at Harvard, say, and this is very clear, and I think we need to repeat this, that the most expensive years of anybody's life who follows the medical model, I'm going to change that. He didn't say that, but who follows the current healthcare system is the last 2 years of their life, right? They spend everything back in those last 2 years and then they're gone, right? So investing in your health is something that the three of us, I think, have to spend some time helping people understand. And that's why we're trying to help determine if this is an investment that our listeners should be putting resources towards and why, right? And so if you could help us kind of guide those who are listening as to at what point do we pull that lever? At what point do we put a little extra in and spend a little more in this? So can you help us see what you've seen clinically that have convinced you that that's what has to happen? You mentioned the story about the vaccine injury, right? With your mother. I don't know if you mentioned that on the show, or if that was pre the show, but people who've had severe stressor in their life, it does deplete those stem cells. And how do we determine that? And, how do we get there?
I know a lot of people are not using labs, but I do.
I use labs, definitely.
Okay. I use labs. I like to muscle test. If I find something like Hashimoto's, I'm like, let's send it out. And honestly, 9 out of 10 times, it's positive, and if it's not positive, their markers are close to having it. Okay. So I like to use it for that, and then I'll give them the supplement that they need, like the thyroid stem cells, brings it down, and then I can switch over to like the standard process product.
So they have stem cells specific to every organ, cell, and tissue in the body?
Yeah,
okay.
That's how it is. Yeah, there's about 12 of them.
Okay.
The kidneys, the thymus gland, the lungs and heart is one, bones, cartilage, and vertebrae is another.
Okay.
And the majority is the bones. Okay, so I'll talk about, since I can, about my husband. He's 6 years ago, he was 72 years of age. He fell off a 2-story office building.
Oh my.
Broke everything on the left side, the skull, the orbital bone, 12 ribs on the left side, both arms, his hip. He put a hole in his spleen. He punctured his lung. He was a mess. I try not to do my own muscle testing. I try not to do it on loved ones. It was hard. So I reached out. Actually, I reached out to all the doctors that I knew. I'd say, what do you think? What do you think? I reached out to the doctor for the stem cells, and he says, come on, you got this. What do you think? I'm like, his bones. He's like, I can do it. So the hospital says, I hear you're a doctor. I said, yes. He said, you can't give him anything. I said, okay. So I would put the stem cells in my mouth. He had a caster on his head or both casts on his arms. He was bad. Wow. It's shape. So I put it in my mouth and I'd wake him up and he had a patch over his eye. So he would barely look. And I'd show him the water, and there's a nurse behind me, had it right outside his office. The nurse on a desk right there. He knew me. So I'd open my mouth and I'd kiss him. I give him the stem cells. And I give him the water. 5 weeks later, all the bones were healed. The doctor, when they looked at the cast, they took both cast off for the x-rays, and they said he's probably going to get back on the cast. We just need to see how it's coming along. So the orthopedic surgeon's looking with his one hand up, looking at me, looking at the x-ray, looking at my husband, and then just staring at me saying, man, you have amazing bones. like talking about my husband. And he literally stared at me, I would think like for 30 seconds, but felt like an attorney. I'm like, all right, I can stare you down. I have 6 older brothers. What can you do to me besides stare at me? And he says, all right, don't tell me. But the casts are not coming back. The bones heal beautifully.
Wow.
So that's for his age to repair that quick in 5 weeks. All the bones heal perfectly. He's on no medication. He's doing amazingly well. And I still give him stem cells for the whole body. They work beautifully.
Now, is that the only intervention you gave him? You didn't
no,
French kiss him with any PMGs
in the
or anything
hospital?
either?
Yes.
What's
in
that?
the hospital? In the hospital,
okay.
that was the only intervention I gave him.
Okay.
When he got home, a lot of other things. Yeah, it was a whole slew of things because he was sent home with like 8 medications.
Okay.
I stayed home and said, okay, you're on this. I'm going to give you garlic. You're going to have this. I'm going to give you that. So I switched it off with the whole food supplementation, and he got him off all the meds within a week. And he did beautifully. But that was just like one story of many. So
that's a great story, though, by the way. And Dr. Verzal, that's not the only way you can give it to people, unfortunately.
And I've gave it to a child once who had one of the worst case of rashes that I've seen. And when I muscle test, all I kept getting was like chemicals. And I'm like, it's chemicals. I'm feeling like it's some kind of hormones. And I couldn't figure out because she was a big girl and she was about 5 years of age. 3 months later, the mom says the itching is so bad. She sent me a picture, and I noticed she's sitting in the bathtub and she's got breasts, this little 5-year-old. She sent me a picture from the umbilicus up. And I said, you or your husband are on hormones because no 5-year-old has, since it's laid back, boobs. And she says, well, she's heavy. I said, no. You or your husband are taking hormones. We'll discuss it tomorrow. She had an appointment the next morning. So I said, who's on the hormones? And it was her. She was on it. And she says, no, but I don't touch her. And so a few minutes later, she goes, it was so bad last night. We slept together. And I'm like, oh, you slept together. I said, so you're Mormon. Do you sleep with the whole outfit or you sleep with the nightie? She goes, no, a nightie. I said, oh, I don't wear nighties because I feel like I'm choking. It comes up to here in the middle of the night. So you tell me that your nightie doesn't come up and you don't rub off on your daughter? Then she got horrified, started to cry. I said, no, it's not a guilt trip. We found it. So she was one of the kids that I put the stem cells on for detoxification. 2 weeks later, her rash cleared up that she has had since she was an infant. She lost all the weight within a year. She's back to being a normal child. The breast went down. She's flat like she should be. That's another case that I would use. And normally I wouldn't think of giving it to a kid because her hormones are going so fast. Right. But in that case, yes, I need it to. Kids have come in that have broken bones from playing sports. I'll give them the stem cells for the bones. But that's it. Once they're done, I'll put them on like Bone Complex or another product that I have. Sure. But just to repair faster because it works fast. And if you're in puberty and younger, man, you heal much faster. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
Okay. Not to pause you. I want to pause there because I just want to make sure that a lot of the listeners, maybe not know a lot of the things we're talking about. So we always want to pause and clarify. You mentioned Bone Complex, and I know a lot of new standard process and Medi herb users are calling or listening now. They keep telling me that this is their preferred education. Actually, some of them say. So can you break down Bone Complex for us? Those are herbals, and why you mentioned that one? Now I know you actually with Dr. V did go to Australia for the speaker training for Medi herb, right? So both of you have an enviable position of knowledge that you could share with that. But you didn't mention Ostrophin PMG, which you could for bones.
Both.
Yeah, but so tell me about Bone Complex, just a real quick, and then we can move on to the next.
Yeah, let Scott do that because he's in the background and I don't know the exact breakdown of it.
Yeah, to tell you the truth, I'm not super fluent on that. I use Ostrophin and Biost and some of that more commonly actually. Yes, I use Bone Complex, osteoporosis, osteopenia sometimes. But kind of like you, I'm looking at, is it hormones? Is it mineral deficiency? Is it toxins compromising? Is it cadmium, vitamin D? So, when we're talking about bone, there you go.
Nice.
Well, it's a combination of a few different things: kudzu, black cohosh, red clover herb, and epimedium. And I've seen this in a lot of, and I definitely use this in a lot of bone health. And I know as muscle testers, that's probably how you're coming to it with muscle testing. But there's a lot of different applications from this. Sometimes it's actually a part of a testosterone protocol, believe it or not, that I take a look at for that. So just wanted to just give people a point of reference when we're throwing these things out, what bone complex is.
Okay, so quickly, the difference between like the MediHerb and standard process is MediHerb is stronger. The herbs kind of mandate the body, says you're going to do this. Where standard process more nourishes body and kind of takes it easy. Okay, well, when you're ready, it kind of nourishes it. Here we go, and goes slower. So if it's a broken bone, I would do both. Usually with herbs, I'll do, especially the pornomorphogens, they always go hand in hand with an herb or another product. So MediHerb is a much stronger hitter when needed. It's not always needed.
Okay, very good.
It's always nice to hear. Testing, the body will tell.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Dr. Hall, you mentioned. Oh, go ahead, Dr. B. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, let's talk about how to stimulate the body to produce its own stem cells. Talk about nutrition. We've talked about BDNF, previously, but mechanisms like that we can do to help the body, anti-aging mentality, since they're known reduction in stem cells as we age. What can we do to keep them being produced?
Yeah, so a natural support for regenerating the body comes down to creating the body's environment, right? So we can nourish our own stem cells even as we age, just not as quickly as when we're in our 20s. So the first pillar of thought is food. Food is anything you put in your mouth. I tell my patients, look at it and decipher, is that going to help you or is it going to hurt you? Especially when you have autoimmune or you have cancer, you want to make sure that that food is clean, it's organic. You stay away from inflammatory seed oils. You want to make sure you get enough protein and micronutrients, make sure all your minerals are intact. And those are simple, basic things that we can do. And if you don't know how to do it, find a doctor in your area that does resonate with this, who does functional medicine, who does supplementations, that knows what they're doing. Because a lot of people will just throw things at, which I see patients come in and they're taking something that has nothing to do with what they were told it was for. And I never, ever, ever would badmouth another doctor. I never have, and I don't want to. And I said, well, you've been lucky. You've been in good hands, but let's try adding this and see if you get better results. But the other one is sleep. You mentioned sleep, so I was excited about that because sleep to me is huge.
Yes.
I experiment. I have the Oura Ring, and I'll wear HRV like monitor the gadgets that are out there.
Variability.
What's that?
It's heart rate variability. Just clarifying for.
Oh yes, sorry. Yes, and I will go out and have a glass of wine and measure my HRV the next morning.
Yeah.
Then I'll have 2 glasses of wine the next day and measure it. Then I'll go like a whole month without it and measure the month, and it definitely affects me.
Oh, sure.
The two glasses of wine changes up, my score gets lower. Whereas a 1 glass, and then of course, when I don't have anything and I'm clean, my HRV is beautiful.
Yeah.
Stress, also clean your stress. Hygiene, as far as like even caffeine timing. People, I hear all the time, oh no, I can drink 2 glasses or 2 cups of coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker, so 2 glasses or cups of coffee, and I'm fine right before I go to bed. It affects you. Monitor the HRV, and I assure it affects you. So, all that matters. If you think it doesn't matter, it does. The third is nutrients. I think I mentioned that. Make sure that you're getting the proper nutrients. For me, the most important is vitamin D. Huge.
It is. Okay, interesting. I mentioned vitamin D. Okay.
I know. I heard that. Good job. I've studied high and low. I've done research. I've taught epigenetics, methylation. Epigenetics is the study of your DNA. And autoimmune kicks in, I've noticed. Autoimmune, also cancer. Every single one of my cancer patients, every single one except one that just came of late, were low on vitamin D.
What is the range you're looking at? And you mentioned labs before, so I'm going to get into that again.
Labs in the day, they wanted it to be from 30 to 60. This was before COVID. And I think my last webinar that I taught for standard process was on epigenetics methylation. And I said, you watch now, since COVID is here, you're going to see that the number is going to raise. And it did. It went from 30 to 100, but that's a huge margin. I keep my patients from 80 to 100. If you have cancer, it needs to be between 90 and 100.
Really?
But Western is happy if you're at 30 or 40. That's not enough.
Okay.
So you have, there's a study that came out during COVID. If your level of Ds are above 60, you have a 60% chance of getting less chance of getting cancer, of getting COVID, of getting autoimmune kick in. And I've been preaching this for years, so I was really excited about that it's actually out there in studies.
Yeah. I see 60 to 80 is what I've always been targeting people over time. A lot of the research showed that people get the best sleep in that range. So I'm curious as to what how you said, let's blow that 80 up to 100, right? So you've seen that clinically be really powerful to make sure that you're getting it closer to 100.
Harvard MD, Dr. Dadis Karasian, who wrote the book, Why Are My Labs Normal? I Feel Awful. It's a thyroid book. Horrible title, but is a brilliant doctor. He reached out to me right when I had 2 SP webinars coming up, and I think a seminar to teach, and it was Christmas time, like a week and a half away from Christmas. He reached out to me and said, hey, I heard you put a patient on 50,000 units of vitamin D a day for 3 months. I want to know why and how you did that and why you're not afraid.
50,000 a day
for 3 months.
Okay.
She was older than me, about 10 years older, and she was completely bald for the last 4.5 years of her life.
Okay.
She was severely deficient. Of course, if you don't take D, you're low on D. End of story. You have to take it. You cannot get enough from the sun. So she was low on D. I felt her thyroid was off. She didn't have a thyroid disease, but it was off. And she parasites. She's a dog walker, and she's a bartender. She didn't drink, but I put her on 50,000, and I gave her 1 supplement for thyroid, and I gave her a D, thyroid, and parasites, some for parasites. And within a year, all her hair grew back. She had to get a haircut by the time of the year.
Wow.
I think I remember it was Christmas time. She came with a huge bouquet of flowers.
Wow.
So he asked if I'd write a paper. I said, I don't have time. He asked if he could do it. I said, sure. So I sent him all my information with the patient's permission, but I crossed out her name anyways. And I sent it in. I sent the pictures and I sent the labs.
Interesting.
After that, then I said, stop taking it for 2 weeks and go 10,000. It's going to drop. As soon as you stop the 50,000, it's going to drop immensely. Go back to 10,000.
Okay. And what were her labs showing after 3 months of 50,000 international units?
Oh yeah, she was hot. She was like, what was she? I have to look again. It's been so many years.
That's okay. Because Dr. Hall, I'm going to be very clear. I actually caution people to do too much just vitamin D, especially at that level. Often I will talk about balancing with vitamin F, vitamin A, magnesium.
Yes.
All of those things have to be in there. So for the listeners out there, before anybody jumps out there and just starts taking 50,000 international units every day.
No,
okay.
Please don't do it. That's the only time I've ever done that. I've done it to patients for 2 weeks after that. The maximum has been 2 weeks. I don't add with A and K because at 50,000, it's enough. They're probably only going to absorb 30,000 of it. Okay. But normally I do the 10,000 and then I monitor on the labs to see where they're at. I don't want them over 100. But one of the doctors in this seminar, I haven't got the studies, I keep forgetting to look it up, says that there's a new study that came out in London where they keep their autoimmune patients levels at 200. So I have to see that study, see what it is. But I do know that D helps make testosterone. My son-in-law, they were going through in vitro. He went and got some shots and his testosterone went lower. I'm like, you're not taking D. So I sent them the D and I said, take 50,000 for 3 days, stop in about 4 days, pick up and do 10,000. It doubled up the next time. So
and now do you have a way that you're giving them 50,000 in one hit, or are you doing it spaced throughout the day, or how?
They're very tiny capsules that I buy and they're very small and they just do it in one hit.
Okay.
Otherwise it's a lot. You have to take too much. And I only do it to patients who are very deficient. I don't do it daily.
Okay.
I myself, when I get on an airplane, which is once a month to get my hair done in Texas, my kids, I take 50,000, then I don't worry about it for the next 5 days.
Interesting.
And then 5 days later, I put a reminder on my phone, go back to taking it. And that's what I do.
Interesting.
But I keep my levels at 90. I didn't get COVID. I'm not vaccinated. Never got COVID. Never got sick. I saw 224 contagious COVID patients. Never got sick.
Okay. Well, we could talk about vitamin D for hours. Dr. V
Yeah,
and
we're
I
not
have
here
talked a
about
lot about
yeah.
why a lot of people can't get it from the sun. And we've actually kind of explored a lot of that. And so instead of just leaving that hanging out there saying that people can't get it from the sun, there's a lot of reasons why they can't get enough, right? Because the rest of their lifestyle, there's so many things. They're not, come on, they're on a statin medication for one, right? They can't get the cholesterol to the skin to make it. And Dr. V made a discovery about that with sulfation and pathogens as well. So there's a lot of
cadmium,
yeah,
cadmium toxicity and pesticides.
yeah. And I will say too, and I'm going to agree, Dr. Hall, that perhaps we weren't designed entirely to only get vitamin D from the sun. I think it's the best number one source, but we also get it from fish, right? And I do think that we were intended to be eating fish from the ocean every day or almost every day. So there probably is a balance of we should be getting a lot from our diet and getting it from the sun. But the reality is what you're telling us in your clinic is that none of that's happening, right? And they got these obstacles. So vitamin D is something that we should definitely be putting a lot more attention on. And I agree with that.
Yes, and it's not a vitamin; it's a hormone, but it's just called a vitamin. But it's not. It's definitely a hormone. But you can get it from the sun. But don't get me wrong, because who doesn't feel better when they've been out in the sun for a bit? They always feel they get a little bit of color. They feel much better. But it's kind of like being dehydrated and getting a sip of water. I have professional volleyball players, professional surfers, and they're out there in just the bikinis if it's a female, or males with no shirts, and they're all low on D.
Yeah.
I've been studying this for years.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that their levels are definitely above 60.
Okay.
And if they've had cancer in the past, I want them between 80 and not over 100. Okay. It's hard on the kidneys if they've been on it for a long time, since it's a fat soluble hormone. I look into all of that as well. It's not just here, take this and this is what you need.
Yeah.
But it's more to it. So please don't see your doctor. Don't run off and do this.
Well, I do loading doses as well. And I think that's a beautiful thing that you're doing that. I do give people a little more instruction to say, I want you to take this throughout the day for 2 weeks, but not after the sun goes down, right? Or after you can't get it from the sun. I try to keep it in that parameter. But I understand why you would do that from an adherence perspective. Say, you're going to do this for 3 days, and then we're going to titrate down. What other labs, though, are you looking at specifically when it comes to stem cell decisions? Because you mentioned labs a lot when it came to that.
Well, I only do the labs after I do my muscle testing, and that's only if it's needed. But the labs are looking for the stem cells. It depends what I'm doing it for. So if I'm doing it for Hashimoto's, I'm going to do the TPO antibodies. I have a thyroid panel called Dr. Hall's thyroid panel, and it took a lot of work. And I worked with Dr. Dadis Karasian's team, and they showed me, I said, what labs are the most important? So it took me about 2 weeks to figure out. I studied it, where the range should be at. And so I'm working with Avexia LabCorp, and you can make your own lab panel. And that's what I want to see. And I offer it at a very cheap price. It's like $79. D's always included in all my labs. D costs more money to test than other labs. D at our cost, which I give to my patients. It's a way of giving back. I'm thinking, I'm not doing the labs. Why am I going to charge them an arm and a leg for it? So it costs $18 to run a D test. So once I know this is how much you need, you only need 5,000. So stick with 5,000 a day. You do need K, you don't need K. And that's how I figure out if they need it or not, because they need A and or K if they have the VDR gene. And we'll get into something else. But anyways, I would look at the labs to see whatever stressor their body had and what issue I think they may be having at hand, autoimmune issues. If they have gut issues, usually they're going to tell me I feel better. If it's H. pylori, of course, I'm going to test out. If it's Crohn's, colitis, IBS, they probably already know. IBS is usually just parasites, but they usually already know this stuff and that they've had it and they're coming in. Or if they don't notice, I'm like, I feel like you might have this. Let's go send you out for a scan. And then I'll put them on stem cells for that organ, because stem cells are targeted nutrition, polypeptides. They go after the targeted tissue that you're taking for. So this is the brain, hypothalamus, and pituitary. So that's where it's targeted. That's where it's going to go. And I've had people say, well, that's crazy. No product or no vitamin or no hormone or no stem cell can go directly to that organ, right? But they're not dumb. They're just ignorant. Means they're just not taught well. But right. I said, well, that's Chinese medicine. That's what Chinese medicine, that's what herbs do. They go directly to that organ. The temperature, everything, it's all made to go to a specific organ. So that's how I do the labs to see what organ is in dire need of attention.
You mentioned Dr. Hall's thyroid labs. For those
Mm-hmm.
listening, can you go through what are the ones that you want in your thyroid lab?
If I suspect, so it's TSH,
mm-hmm.
T4, T3, free T4, free T3, TPO antibodies, and it also has the D in it, like I mentioned.
Okay.
I don't need the reverse T3, the reverse T4. Those are the basic ones that I need to know, because it goes from the brain to the thyroid to the liver, all liver, because the liver conjugates it. And then once it conjugates it in the liver, it goes into the bloodstream. And that's the hormones that we use, the free T4, the free T3. When it's total T3, it's hooked onto a protein. We need to separate it so the body can use it. So I want to know, where is the issue at? Is it in the brain? Is it in the thyroid? Or is it in the liver? Or is it in the bloodstream? Yeah. And so took me 2 weeks to make that panel. And if anybody wants it, I always share whatever knowledge I have. I don't have an issue. I send out the labs. And if you use Avexia, I think you can look up Dr. Hall's thyroid panel. If I'm not mistaken, they said you can just tell somebody and they can just look it up and they can order it. And the price it's like less than $79.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's talk about hormones maybe and their effect on stem cells. I'm thinking testosterone, cortisol, growth hormone. Let's lean into that for a minute. We're starting to run short on time, but just a tease maybe.
Yes. Hormones are huge. I want to make sure I'm cautious. I want to make sure that I don't give them extra of something that they don't need. I can usually tell if they're getting testosterone shots. They get really angry really quick. The wives will tell me. So we try to tone that down. But stem cells, they have them for the man, and they have testosterone in it for the man to help boost the testosterone. Because again, as we age, as you're younger, you probably don't need it. But I'll tell you what, a lot of my young guys that are in 30s and 40s, definitely 50s, they're low in testosterone. I'm like, what? I mean, well, my son-in-law, it's okay if I talk about him. I'm like, how the heck can you be low? You're in your prime.
The average man's testosterone has decreased 1% per year for the last 50 years. So you can assume that these young men coming in have half the testosterone that a man would have had 50 years ago.
Wow, so pesticides, I assume. Of course, the diets.
Yep.
Dr. V,
so many different
know that, yeah.
Right. What if somebody's taking prednisone? What's that effect on steroids, or on stem cells, huh?
I usually wait till after their course is done, and hopefully they're not on it forever. I know people that have Crohn's and colitis, especially Crohn's, they're on steroids, but they'll keep them on usually like at two weeks, sometimes a month. I just try to get them off. I said, you feel great when you're on it, but as soon as you get off it, it comes back with a vengeance.
Right.
The steroids are best when it's an acute situation. If you have asthma and you're in the emergency room, get the steroids. I mean, get that person better, but don't stay on it forever. So I try not to interfere. I can't take them when you're doing chemo because it's going to offset it. It's going to offset that chemo. So you want to make sure once they're done, you put them on it.
I would think cortisol would be an inhibitor of stem cell production. That's part of what I was thinking too, is taking prednisone, that sort of thing, would actually inhibit ultimately our ability to heal and recover, contrary to what people are using it for. As opposed to like testosterone should stimulate stem cell production, as would growth hormone. So just kind of looking to help people understand how to, facilitate that process ultimately. And again, hormones help all that. Again, more benefit of balancing the body, and eating nutrition, eating organ meats that are going to facilitate. We did almost a whole weekend on orchic tissue and its effect on the brain a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Well, I think that stress is the umbrella that you're talking about there, Dr. V, right? If we're talking about the barriers to stem cell production in the body, stress is going to be a massive barrier for that. But, lack of sleep contributes to that. Junk food contributes to that. Pollution, alcohol consumption, and inflammation, right? All of those are going to be barriers. So if you're thinking, am I somebody who should be looking at using stem cells? If you've had an overexposure to any one of those things, then probably it's going to be something you're going to want to bring in at some point.
Fatty liver. I mean, how many patients have fatty liver?
Mm-hmm.
I can even, I'm sure you guys, if you're a muscle tester, I know Dr. V, you're huge, years beyond me. You can feel the liver. You shouldn't feel the liver.
Right.
So you can tell there's the fatty liver, but the stem cells are beautiful for that. The liver enzymes being high, I don't want them over 30. I like the range between 18 and 30. So if the liver enzymes are high, you can use the stem cells. It's not going to hurt you. That's a beautiful thing. You know, I don't give it to kids. I've given it to cases that are severe and got excellent results. But I have not given it more than, I think those are only 2 kids I can think of that were under 10 that took them. I've given them to teenagers when they have broken bones, and the results are so even faster than if you were 60 years of age. It's not going to hurt you. They work beautifully. The company that I use is certified organic. Again, they've been around for 44 years. Their studies, I think I saw 77 yesterday studies, and that's just from this company. There's other companies that are out there in Europe, especially, where the studies just show significant results. But more importantly, it's our patients, right? You want to make sure they get better. You want to make sure when they leave, they're better than when they came in. For dementia, for brain fog, for Alzheimer's setting in. I had a hospital in Emory called Mission Hospital here at Mission Viejo sent a patient who had severe dementia setting in. He came back months later, and his wife had to drive him. She came back like maybe about 9 months later. They were on it for like 4 or 5 months. I was so sad. I thought he died because she couldn't leave him alone. He couldn't be left alone at the house. She was much younger than him. So I was afraid to ask, but I sat down because I was waiting for it. I said, so how's your husband? She goes, oh, he's doing great. I said, well, what? They never came back to me and told me. It was severe. And I still don't know how Mission Hospital found out about me, but they sent him to me and I put him on that. But he was in bad shape. He was in really bad shape. He couldn't be left alone. His wife had to drive him everywhere. They work. They're very beneficial. And if you're young, take care of your stem cells. Take care of your own body's master stem cells. I mean, they work. Take care of them. The junk food's not worth it. Always look for an alternative that you can do. And don't be hard on yourself if you, oh my God, I ate junk food. So what? Get over it. Start again.
Was the only thing you gave this gentleman the stem cells for the brain? That's the only thing you gave him? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's really good to know, because we're going to be doing a brain restoration retreat in 2027. Nice. So we want to have all of the tools available to us to muscle test the people.
If you can add more, even better. Don't get me wrong.
Sure. Yeah.
So I try to look at the patient. Can they afford it? Can they not? I try to say, okay, let's see what they need. But the stem cells cover quite a bit of everything that's needed in the body. Wow. I take them off it because of cost. I'll say, okay, now let's go to the protomorphogens. We'll do the cytoscells. We'll do whatever they test for to keep them. And then maybe every 3rd or 4th month, go back on the stem cells. Okay. But for me, my father had Alzheimer's. I use the stem cells for the brain. Yeah. I'm not going to wait for it. I'm doing it now. I've been doing it for over 10 years now.
Wow. Yeah. Now, what kind of a protocol do you have yourself on? Is this daily? Do you do it once every 3 months? Is it?
I do it at least weekly.
Weekly.
Yeah, and I'm not going to wait.
You mentioned cost a couple times. What are we talking here for the listeners out there? What should they anticipate?
They're about $180 if the company sent, and you have 60 tablets in there. Most people need 2 at bed. That would suffice. If it's severe, I do 2 twice a day. If it's very severe, then sometimes 2-3 times a day. Oh, a story where my husband fell. He fell. His knee was the size of my thigh. I gave him for time. I'm going to make it real short. He couldn't walk the next day. We had to do something in the morning. It was a family event. I said, you need to stay here. I ran to the clinic, got the stem cells for inflammation, gave it to him. I woke him up. I said, here, take 2, take it throughout the day. Well, by the time I called him at 1 o'clock, I see in the ring camera, he's walking. I'm thinking he couldn't walk. I said, what are you doing? I said, you're walking. He says, oh yeah, the swelling went down. I said, that's impossible. because he just fell hours prior to that. I said, wait a minute, how many did you take? He says, oh, about 8 or 10. It's not going to hurt you. It's okay. But when I got home that night, yeah, it was half down. So they work. They're not going to hurt you. I just try to be cost effective. So I say, let's just do 2 at night. It lasts you a month. They come in half packets too. So you can do it for 15 days, make sure it works. It usually always works. But just in case for them, if they want to see, they can do it for 2 weeks.
Dr. Hall, thank you so much for taking the time to come in and present this option for people. I cannot wait to get my hands on it some and start doing some testing. I know Dr. V can't either. He's chomping at the bit for that. It's always encouraging. Hope is a big issue. And I was just speaking this morning with people about hope. And the more we can bring options to people, the more hope they're going to have. And that's so important that we keep this message going, that we're still learning more. There's still more to come, right? We can't accept the limits that other people have because they're just not keeping up with the science. And that's what we're trying to do, is stay ahead of it and know what's working, not just with the 77 studies that are out there, but somebody like yourself who's had clinical experience with it. That's so valuable to have what you've seen and how you've seen it, and these different things that are going to encourage myself, Dr. Verzal, and hopefully many other people to be able to have this as an option for the patients. We are running out of time. Dr. V, did you have some things that you wanted to make sure that we got in here before we wrap this up?
No, thank you. Thank Dr. Martha for sharing and enlightening us as well. You know, I've done a lot of stuff to stimulate the body's production of them. Looking forward to playing with some exogenous stem cells and growing. So yeah, I'm sure we'll talk more. Dustin and I will probably do another podcast after we've had experience using these for a while.
Yeah.
Look forward to hearing your results.
Hopefully we'll call you back on, and then we can all share stories about how we've had to secretly pass this to people somehow. That's such a great story.
Yeah, I like to say something. Thanks, you guys, for doing everything you guys do, because it makes doctors like me learn. I saw the episode you guys did on bra. I'm like, that's beautiful, because it's true. And I've been watching the episodes, so I know it takes a lot. It seems like we're just out having fun and talking, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. So thank you guys for doing that. You guys are making a difference in the world.
That warms my heart. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Well, we'll stop recording now, but thank you so much again for being here. This will be out pretty soon, and we'll be sharing with everybody, and hopefully we'll have you back. All right.
Thanks.